Welcome to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We're glad to see you showed up today to watch what we have going on. Excited to be here today. First of all, you may not know this, but you will now. It's Jan's birthday! Happy birthday, Jan. I forgot to wish her happy birthday backstage, so I thought I'd better get her on air. Anyway, we wish you many, many years of lots of fun and happiness and joy and presents and cake. And
it's the International Day of Awesomeness, and I didn't even pick that.
I know.
It just happens to be on my birthday.
It's probably why it is.
It's exactly why. I share it with, who is that just very handsome guy that everybody thinks is the strongest man
My
in
husband?
the world? Oh, hey.
Kenny.
No, I didn't think that was his birthday, too.
Oh.
No,
All
that's
right.
okay.
So we're going to get started here. We have Jan with us, and we have Patty with us, and we have Senator Kristin Roers with us. She is from, we also have Andrea with us from Florida. She always floats in. I just love having her, and it's so great because she's always so springy and has the best weather down there. But anyway, Kristin is from Fargo, and she is working heavily on the long-term essential caregivers bill. And so there's a lot to talk about this segment, so we might as well just jump right on into it. Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the bill?
Yep, so it's called Senate Bill 2145. It was a bill that was brought to me on behalf of a group that's working on advocating for long-term care residents and their families. One of the challenges, so by background, just so you know, I'm a nurse. That's my day job when I'm not here at the legislature. Worked with COVID patients during the last couple months, but normally have an administrative job. And this was brought to me with the need to really try and figure out how do we fight the isolation that's happening in our nursing homes. We understand that when the pandemic started, we didn't know what we didn't know yet. And so the impulse was just to try and we have to keep them safe. We know they are the most vulnerable. We know that they're the ones who are most likely to have the worst outcomes if they contract COVID. And so what can we do to protect them? And thought, if we can really just keep people safe, keep them in a contained environment and try and limit the variables that are impacting them, that will keep them as safe as possible. The challenge is we didn't know how long this would go on. And there are so many side effects from that isolation that are not being considered.
Well, and initially it was 14 days to flatten the curve.
Correct,
Wasn't that
correct. And we thought, oh my goodness, it came to North Dakota. Friday's the 1-year anniversary of some of these isolation policies that got put into place when COVID first came to North Dakota. We thought, okay, we're going to see this spike and then we're going to be done with it and we can move on. And instead, we saw a gradual increase and then a decrease and then a spike in the fall. Well, through all of that time, these people have been really isolated from their families. And what really struck me is I was actually playing volleyball in a church league in Fargo, and there's an occupational therapist and a physical therapist that I play volleyball with, and they both work in long-term care facilities. And they said that on a daily basis, they had residents asking them to kill them. Not let them die,
gosh.
But will you kill me because this isn't living?
You've got to be kidding.
And so one of the other things that we need to think about is not just the distress that this is creating for our residents, their families, but also the staff that work there.
Yes.
We may struggle to staff nursing homes in the future because we have burned them out. The moral distress that they're under is just incredible. And so how do you figure out how to open up safely? We've figured out how to open up schools safely. We figured out how to go back to work. We figured out how to do the legislature where, to be honest, the average age is quite a bit higher than me. There's 5 of us that are under the age of 50 in the Senate.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Yeah, there's 5 of us. And there's only, we have only had 1 positive case since we started. One that had it and didn't start right away with us, one that got it, but there's no indication that it happened at the legislature, that it was out in the community. And so we've obviously found a way to do this. So we need to find a way to get our nursing homes back to a normal state. We have 2 challenges. One was solved yesterday. We had an executive order that has been in place since, I want to say, May-ish, if I had to guess. I don't know it off the top of my head. That was rescinded yesterday. That was dealing with long-term care facilities, and one of the challenges was it also applied to both assisted living and basic care. The long-term care facilities, the traditional kind of skilled care facilities, those are overseen by the federal government regulations. And so this applied to them as well, but the federal regulations superseded everything there. And so now that that's been lifted, assisted living and basic care can start to kind of loosen up things, free up visitation, that kind of stuff. So people, I mean, these people are living in an apartment. They're a renter.
Right.
There should have been no regulations on them, but the executive orders somewhat purposefully and somewhat inadvertently ended up being overprotective for them especially.
And but I had learned that was actually tied through the FDA, through the food program, because the food that they get in these long-term care facilities, it's provided by, or it's supervised by the USDA, which then makes it a federal program.
Yeah, so there were a couple pieces there, but the executive order that was done by the governor actually was part of the challenge there. That has now been lifted as of yesterday.
Great.
The federal guidelines that are overseeing the skilled long-term care facilities are still in place, and that's really the biggest problem that we have right now. This bill cannot impact those federal guidelines, but what it can do is try and set the stage for the future, number one, so that maybe this will never happen again if we come down with some other disease. We know there will be another disease, and so we want to try and discourage this as being the knee-jerk reaction, is to lock down again. The second thing it helps send a message to the federal government to say, look, not every state is the same. They have a memo out there, QSP memo, whatever the number is, and what it does is it says if you're in outbreak testing, and they define outbreak testing as one positive test result in the previous 14 days from either a staff or a resident, that's outbreak testing. You cannot have indoor visitation. Well, we live in North Dakota and it's winter, and so outdoor visitation just isn't an option. The other thing is it says, and then if your county positivity rate, well, we were struggling with both. We have one facility in this town where they haven't had a 14-day period since July without a positive. So their residents have been locked down since July. You can't compare a 250-bed facility to a 10-bed facility and apply the same rules and expect it to be fair. And CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, just are not necessarily hearing that message. People are scared that they're going to be seen as reacting like New York. And so people aren't speaking up. And so I'm hoping that as we can pass this bill, get it signed by the governor, we can use that as a stepping stone to then say, okay, feds, you need to start treating the states as independent beings. We need to be allowed to make our own rules and do what's best for the residents of our state. Our positivity rate is so low. The number of positives that we have is just minuscule. And then on top of that, the number of deaths have thankfully been so few and far between lately. And we have probably 20 nursing homes that already have 100% coverage on their vaccination with their residents, and in the 80% and higher for staff. That should be a consideration, regardless of whether there's a positive or not.
So then, with that being the case, is that nursing home wide open?
No.
No.
See?
If they have a positive, is it a false positive? Is it a real positive? And is it one of the people who didn't get vaccinated? Well, the other people aren't at risk from contracting it if they're vaccinated.
Right.
So there's no logic.
There's
not connecting the dots.
Okay, well, we have a lot to catch up on. That was a lot of information. Our first segment, we've blown right through it. We'll be back after these messages on Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen. along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Pub 21, your one stop for fun, drinks, and food. Our spacious facility provides COVID-safe fun for you and all your friends. With nightly bingo and specials, you can be sure there's something to do for everyone. If you're staying in for the night, we've got you covered just across the way with Pub 21 Liquor. We have a wide variety of options, from wine to whiskey and everything in between. Stop in today at 1014 South 12th Street in Bismarck to see what all the buzz is about. You won't be disappointed.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We're visiting with Senator Kristin Roers out of Fargo, and we're talking about the long-term care situation. Why don't, in a nutshell, tell us what this bill will do.
So this bill defines that every resident of a long-term care facility can designate one or more essential caregiver to say to the facility, these are the people that I want to be available to me to give physical, spiritual, and emotional care while in a long-term care facility. And so it's just defining who those people are in your life. And the hope is that once you have that, then that person should be allowed in. Now the challenge—
At any time.
At any time. In a normal situation, that's already true. This just formalizes it. The challenge is because the federal regulations are in place, even when this bill passes, sadly, that won't change until the federal regulations change. So this bill, like I said, though, does set that stage for the future to say we have this bill in place, we have this law in place, and so at least from a state perspective, this should be a no-pass zone. We cannot do this again. We are violating people's rights.
And did you have anybody stand up against it?
No.
No, good.
And you mentioned during the break that you are going to try to put something together for
Yeah.
the federal level, so we don't have to just sit here handcuffed.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that I'm working on is trying to just draft a letter to urge CMS to rescind their QSP memo and allow the states to set up their own standards for how they want to deal. Now that we're a year into COVID, we all know what we need to do and what we don't need to do, and every state has different resources available to them. So allow us to make a decision that's based on how our state is set up. So I'm going to draft a letter, and then I'll be reaching out to legislators across the United States who have a healthcare background, whether they're a nurse, a doctor, a respiratory therapist, whatever they are, and then also the chairs of all the Health and Human Services committees across the country to ask them to sign on to this memo and then forward that to the federal level, and then also have each of us send it to our federal delegation. So for me, I would be sending it to Hoeven, Armstrong, and Kramer to say, please put pressure on HHS, on CMS, and say you've got to allow the states to be able to exert the power over their own organizations.
Perfect.
Senator
Andrea,
Roers, I think that's a great plan. Is there any way that a citizen can help support this initiative at the federal level?
I think anybody who is willing to reach out to either CMS, I'll be honest, I don't know who the new head of CMS is going to be. It was Seema Verma, but now with the change in administration, we're kind of in a little bit of a lull there. But I think reaching out to whoever your federal delegation is, your U.S. Congress and U.S. senators, and reaching out and saying how important this really is in your life, so that it raises to the top of mind right now.
And I think we're ready. I think our country's ready for that. I really do.
Sure.
Left, right, liberal, conservative, striped. I think everybody's ready for it.
And like we talked before the show, what do you do to punish someone in prison? You put them in solitary confinement. What do you do to a kid who's been naughty? You put them in timeout. Like, we are punishing people for something that they did nothing
and they're not even infected.
And they have no power.
They're not. We're confining them if they've been around anyone who's been contagious.
Like you said just as we went to break, the inconsistency with every response that's been about COVID has just baffled my mind. Like, I love watching sports, and so all of the football players have to go through the same testing protocols as the coach. The players don't have to wear a mask, but the coach can get fined if he doesn't. Like, what?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, there's not, the logic just has been so inconsistent through this whole process. I'm not completely opposed to some of the changes that had to happen because we were in the middle of a pandemic. I watched the hospital. I watched these people struggle to breathe. I understand how bad it could be. I was there dialing 9911 in the hospital to get the code team there for patients. It was horrific to work in that every day. But then when you tried to just logically think through, if this, then this, it just so often didn't follow a logical path. And that was what was so frustrating.
You're the perfect person to do this bill and to get behind it and to do something to try to make a change, even on the national level, because you do have that nursing background.
Yeah.
And you're not in denial. You have seen up close what it looks like, but you've seen the other side where the cure is worse than the disease, where people are suffering.
It's been such a challenge.
Across the board,
And it's been such a challenge. I've had some pretty intense conversations with fellow nurses at work, and especially people who were trying to. Some of the people who were travel nurses, they had been in New York when it was so bad. They had been in California when it was so bad. They had seen the worst of the worst of the worst. And they were so frustrated. And I finally said, I understand that you saw the absolute worst it could be, but can you understand that they are seeing the opposite side of that coin? And can you understand that not everybody thinks that this is the solution to that problem? And I think I opened a couple people's eyes by just saying, guys, you have to understand that they can't see what you can see, but you also aren't seeing what they're seeing. And just people were like, we talked a little bit about, if I'm right, then you have to be so wrong that you're gone. And that was what I was just trying to get people to say, like, can you just see that there may be two sides to this issue, so that we can have those conversations.
So didn't you have some experiences with the residents themselves and what they were having to endure and some of the things that they asked of you?
I was only in the hospital, but some of the people who were coming into the hospital who were COVID positive were nursing home patients. And then I was even on a unit one day just helping out, being we were so short staffed, they were like, anybody please go help. And so I was just walking around, and I would always ask people, where'd you come from? Where are you from? And that kind of stuff. And if they were from a nursing home, I really tried to spend a little bit more time with them. They had had such little human contact for so long, and the staff was so busy. They just didn't have the time to have those personal and deeper interactions, and I did have that flexibility to have that time. And so I'd try and spend that little extra time to really try and engage people. And that's one of the challenges, is the more isolation you go into, there's just not that mental stimulation involved. And so you start to see cognitive decline when you have that isolation. You'll have people who start to have dementia, the confusion, and then the depression. And it just keeps compounding and compounding and compounding, and they spiral further and further down. And the more we can engage these people, the more we can get them back into interacting with each other and with their families and their loved ones and the staff, whoever it is. The staff had such a burden put on them. They're so used to, in a nursing home, the families coming in and having that interaction. Well, now the staff is not only trying to do their normal job, then all the PPE that takes extra time to put on and take off, and then now they're also the only social contact that person has. And it just I can't imagine working in a nursing home right now. You can't win right now.
And I often think back to when you do go in and visit somebody, sometimes you'll see Joe or Fred, other people that you know, and you're going to go see grandma or grandpa or your parents or whoever it is, but you visit people along the way that
absolutely.
you know that are from your hometown.
I picture going to see my grandma in Alexandria, Minnesota, and I never a day in my life have thought I'm glad she passed away when she did, but oh my God, if she had to live through this, I don't know how I would have been able to. I don't know. I might have had to take her out of the nursing home and try to take care of her myself, because she's a even more social person than I am, and she would have struggled so hard with this. I can't imagine. It would be devastating for our family.
Same here with some of our family members. Yeah.
Right. Well, we have so much more to catch up on. We'll be catching up some more on this same issue, and then also talking about Beth Sanford right after these messages on Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Beck Communications is now hiring independent sales agents around the state. We're looking for highly motivated individuals to take advantage of this opportunity, selling advertising for our news and sports programming on Beck TV and sponsorships for the Bismarck Bucks indoor football team. Independent sales agents will make 50% commission on their completed sales for all products. Beck TV is the leader in broadcasting local sports, owner of the Bismarck Bucks indoor football team, and originator of newly launched news opinion programming. Submit your application now at careers@bechtel.coop. This is an exciting opportunity you can't pass up. 50% commission for independent sales agents now hiring at Beck Communications.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. When you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Ever been in a cave before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the car!
How will we?
The car! Your offer has been accepted. Ever bought a house before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the closing.
But how will we?
The closing!
The experienced professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless, and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We are sitting with Senator Kristin Roers out of Fargo. It's been just a fantastic segment or show today. But I want to pop up this quote from Beth Sanford with North Dakota Advocacy for Long-Term Care. March 12th, 2021 will mark the one-year anniversary implementing isolation policies and visitor restrictions in long-term care nationwide as an effort to safeguard residents from COVID-19. Today, it is now evident that the overreach due to COVID is equally as detrimental as the virus itself. The isolation policies, including visitor restrictions, separated residents from their community, their loved ones, and each other as we protected them to death. The residents suffered emotional and cognitive decline, depression, and failure to thrive as a consequence of the policies that grossly violated their freedom and human rights. The emotional toll on residents, loved ones, and staff cannot be measured. March 12th, 2021, and this year needs to be commemorated as a time of mourning. And that was by Beth Sanford with North Dakota Long-Term
And
Care.
Beth is also a nurse.
Yes.
And lived through this experience through her grandma and some other loved ones in her family, and it just ignited that passion under her, and she is a fierce advocate. I would never want to be on the opposite side of her argument. She is someone to be reckoned with, and I've really enjoyed getting to know her. That quote actually reminds me on Friday at 11 a.m. right outside the Capitol, the State Library, there's going to be a little gathering called Isolation Kills to commemorate that 1-year anniversary. And so I'll be there, and as will Carla Backman, the long-term care ombudsman for the state of North Dakota, just to say a couple words. And we'd love to see any of you, especially if you have family members who have been affected by this, if you want to bring pictures of your loved ones, just help us remember those who were really affected the most by this horrible disease, but then also the impact of the cure.
Exactly. Well, I look forward to that. I'm hoping a lot of the ladies can go to that. Andrea, you had a question?
Yeah, you had mentioned some of the side effects of isolation on the residents in long-term care. Are there any warning signs that we should be looking for if we do have a loved one who's still in long-term care?
Yeah, and I think really, even if you have someone who's living alone and not getting the same social interaction, whether they're in long-term care or not, I think the things you really want to look for is that mental acuity. Are they staying as sharp as they normally are to you? You know your loved one better than anybody else does. You will catch those subtle cues long before a doctor or a nurse or anybody else will. So looking for that cognitive decline, are they keeping up with the conversation as well? How sharp are they staying? Are they getting more forgetful? Withdrawing, whether if they normally look forward to seeing you and look forward to talking to you and now they're a little apathetic about it, those sorts of things, you really want to watch for those. Looking at their nutrition, how well are they eating? Are they losing weight? Are they gaining weight? Where are they at in that? And I think those are some of the really key things, but I think you're going to pick up on the subtle cues in their communication, their engagement in conversation. That's going to be the one that's going to be your first indicator that you really want to be on it and really watching out for them, trying to get them as much stimulation and interaction as possible. Whether if your only option is through an iPad or FaceTime or whatever that is, utilize the tools that you do have available, and when you are able to see your loved one, really try and engage them in conversation as much as possible.
I have a suggestion. My dad is 95, and 2 of my siblings, there's 6 of us, and 2 of my siblings play hangman with him over the phone. Cool. And yeah,
just engages the brain.
And they have a lot of fun, and you wouldn't think you think, oh, hangman, that's a little kid's thing, but no, he has a lot of fun playing hangman.
Yeah, and it's a simple game that you can do. You don't need any special technology for it, but it is. Right. It's just those little things that keep your brain engaged. You know, bringing them puzzles if they're still, you know, kind of dexterity and physically capable of doing things. Just anything that really helps keep that brain active is going to be helpful to get through this, and hopefully the end is very near, I hope.
Well, I think it's really great that you've brought this forward and that you're an advocate for these folks that don't have a voice. You know, we sometimes hear across the nation that North Dakota seems to have a greater elderly population per capita. Is that a fact, or is that something that is just...
I don't know that I've ever heard that. I know that we used to be #1 in the number of long-term care beds per capita in the United States, but part of that was quite a few of them were empty, and so I don't know if that's a true statement or not. I'm not sure.
Well, we're all hoping that North Dakota is bringing in the young ones and keeping the young ones that we have. But when you think about it, you know, it seems that through this whole process, the city, county, state, federal, they seem to have kind of, I don't know, failed the citizens a little bit in their response to COVID. It's really tough for us to, you know, look back and say that we don't feel like we've had some restrictions or maybe even rights taken away. This executive order that was just, you said it was rescinded. Was it rescinded or was it expired?
Rescinded.
Okay, so
It didn't have an end date on it, so it was rescinded.
How could, when we saw these people declining over the last many months, why was there no push to get it rescinded?
There were some conversations being had, they just weren't. And here's the challenge. Right as I think people started to have this conversation to say we need to rescind this, that's when we hit that spike in the fall. So then that conversation kind of fell off, and then we knew we were coming into the legislative session and hoped that we could take care of it this way. So it wasn't necessarily that the executive branch wasn't willing to do it. It was partially a circumstance of poor timing.
Yeah. I just want to say how much I appreciate that we do have people in North Dakota that we're saying, okay, we just saw what happened. This is not going to happen again.
Exactly.
And that we are going to learn from these mistakes. And to have that gathering on Friday, what is it, Isolation Kills at 11 o'clock, and where's it at?
Right outside the State Library on the Capitol grounds.
Right. So we should all try to go there. And I want to say, if there's a zombie apocalypse, I want to be on Kristin's team. Because you have a degree in nursing, a degree in economics, and a master's in nursing administration. I might be slaughtering the technical
you got them all
terms.
there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought, wow, I want to be on your team.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And so, any other issues you want to bring forward?
None that are really jumping out at me. I think there's a lot of bills this session that are what I'm kind of deeming as a little reactionary. We've gotten through COVID. We're trying to prevent it from happening again, but my fear is we don't know what the next thing is. And if you put a law in to kind of address something that happened in the past, what are you going to inadvertently, what's the unintended consequences? So we've talked about a little bit about masks, and I'm lucky I was able to get the vaccine as a nurse. There are a lot of people who are now getting the vaccine, and so I think we're going to start to see a little bit more normal daily life. There's still a mask mandate. I guess it's technically, I call it a recommendation in Fargo because it doesn't have any penalty ability, so it's still a recommendation in my world. But I think we're going to start to see those expire in all of North Dakota. I think Fargo's is the only one still in place, but having a bill that says no one can ever put a mask mandate again in place is a challenge, and part of the wording is it says you can't make it a condition of employment. Well, what if I'm someone who sprays chemicals and I need to wear a respirator to stay safe? Or what if I am a nurse in public health, you're telling me you can't require me to wear a mask as part of my job? I just worry that in the intent of trying to do a good thing, the intent behind it is good, but are there unintended consequences that we may not think about? And what does that do to our cost for unemployment, or not unemployment, but workers' comp? And just there's just all these bills, election bills and mask mandate prohibition and all these things that are being reactionary, and I'd rather we just dealt with the issue that we have in front of us and not tried to guess what the next one is going to be, and really work at saying how do we build the culture so that that's no longer what's happening the next time.
All right. Well, you have less than a minute. Is there something you want our viewers to know? Just give us a quick synopsis.
I would say, number one, make sure that you're staying in contact with your loved ones. They need to hear from you. They need to know that you care. There are a lot of them that just are not able to understand what's going on around them because of this whole isolation. And then reach out to your federal delegation. Really try and stress the fact that we need to get CMS to take away that order, that memo that is ruling over our long-term care facilities, and also really put some love on your long-term care workers. They have gone through some pretty awful times, and we would love for them to know how much we do appreciate what they've done during this time when we haven't been allowed to be there.
All right, well, we do appreciate you stopping by and visiting with us and giving us an update, because it's important for our viewers to hear the information firsthand. We'll be back with more information after these messages on Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Howdy folks, it's the Canine Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our hay-bossing breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at a salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Canine burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. Wasn't that helpful and informational? And I mean, just that someone, that they're trying to make a change. And that's the part that we just all need to stand up and stick up for our elders and just keep things rolling.
Right. I had a little bit of a question. You know, I heard some of the comments that Senator Roer made towards the end, and she said we can't do things that are reactionary. We have to do things as they're needed, and they might have unintended consequences. But that's what this bill is doing too. We're reacting to something that happened. We're reacting because our loved ones suffered in this isolation. You know, they weren't able to have the family love on them. They weren't able to have any spiritual enhancement. And this is a reactionary bill, and that's what we need to do with all of these bills. We need to find some way to help the people that were harmed by things that were decided in the past. So if we decide that there needs to be no more mask mandates because it does more harm than good to the majority of the people, if you need to write in exceptions so that healthcare workers can have some mandated responses from their teams, or somebody that is working with chemicals needs to protect themselves, I don't know. I still think it might be a slippery slope to say that it can't be reactionary.
I thought too that maybe they need to work with OSHA on that, because there are certain jobs that you have to wear a respirator or a mask or something. So I think going through, say, OSHA for starters would be a good starting point.
Absolutely.
But to have something that, okay, we have a, you know, maybe does it have to be designated as a pandemic in order for it to apply or something like that? But there's got to be a way, you would think, to work that in.
Right, because OSHA regulations are not new.
Correct.
So yes, we should stay the course with those. Those have been well thought out. They have reasons for them. But it's this new pandemic knee-jerk reaction that we're like, wait a minute, this didn't work, especially with the nursing homes. And I just want to reiterate that I'm just very glad that there is a reaction here in North Dakota, and I'm hoping that there will be some in other states too. And we're going to talk about what's going on in New York and with Como, and that that we're starting to see, wait a minute, this wasn't okay, and we're not just going to go on like business as usual. We're going to say this shouldn't happen again and make a difference.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that if we don't react to things that we've made decisions
Right.
on and correct them,
Well,
you know, what's
that's life. And
exactly.
And she wasn't saying, obviously, she's getting behind this bill, and so she's
For
not
sure.
saying don't ever react. But we do
For
have
sure.
to. I know what she's saying, that sometimes we do overreact, and then that has unintended consequences. But I want to
Yes.
say, you know, Mary, remember when you had Lori in, and I often don't pronounce her last name correctly. Her dad died of COVID. That you had said, we're not going to forget this. We're gonna follow this story, and we have, and we're going
Yes.
to continue to do it. That it wasn't just her coming in and pouring her heart out, and so many people cried and shared that video with so many people, and she made a difference.
Yes,
you know,
she
her
did.
experience and her coming on the show touched so many hearts across the country and made a difference, and we're seeing part of that now.
I just want to be clear, I'm not criticizing Senator Roers. I think she's doing great things. You know, it just kind of struck me, you know, after we went to break that, you know, if it's just like a parent with a child. If the child does something, the parent reacts in order to protect the child, that's all good. But you might learn that there's a better way of greasing the wheel.
Right, but then you know that in the future there's always going to be that banner on the bottom of the TV screen. If you were damaged by a face mask mandatory something, please call this 800 number to these sleazeballs.
Exactly.
And so that's always the downside of anything in America nowadays. I just hate.
We're very
I mean, that's
litigious.
a whole other subject, but I just hate to, you know what I'm saying? So that's why we have to be cautious, or that's why she was recommending to be cautionary, in the sense where it is reactionary. We have to dot every I and cross every T before we just jump into something, is my opinion. Andrea, I know you have an opinion over there in Florida.
You can see it on my face. I just know
I
it. So I do think that both the idea of not being reactionary as well as the idea of avoiding unintended consequences are almost cliche at the Capitol. They're shorthand for a longer conversation that should always be had around any legislation that's put forward. You're adding another law to the books. So take the time, and they do. And Senator Roers has demonstrated that that's exactly what she's doing here, taking the time to really fully investigate, vet it out, make sure that it is going to have the result that is intended, that it is going to have a positive result, and not also wreck something else in the process. Because you can rush into things and make decisions in a foolhardy way, and that's not something that our legislature should ever be doing. So I think that while it does come off as really cliche, it is still a really important concept and something that I think that the legislators do take very seriously.
Perfect. You know, when I was prepping for the show, I ran across a little story, and it had a prescription. This elderly person had gotten their second vaccine, and then the doctor wrote on a piece of paper, "You now have permission to hug your grandchild." It's like, are you kidding me? I mean, to me, yeah, it sounds sweet as a endearment, but how, it's like, now we have to have a permission slip to hug our grandchildren? That's the part that really got me.
Well, that's true, yeah.
You know, it's like, it sounded cute at the time, but it's like, no, this isn't cute. It's like, this is ridiculous. They had to it's almost like bribery. You had to bribe that person, demanding them to get that the first and second shot in order for them to see their grandchildren. And now they can be in groups of people indoors for a certain period of time.
I guess I saw that a little bit differently. I guess because you are dealing with people who have had a lot of anxiety around COVID for this entire last year, getting permission from somebody that you respect would alleviate some of that anxiety and allow them to actually do the thing that they've been wanting to do this whole time along. So yes, I wouldn't want anyone to feel like they can't, but if they do feel like they can't, let them know that it's okay, that it's good.
And I get that. I see the sweet part of it, but to me, it's like they're dangling a carrot out here. It's like, okay, if you get your vaccine, you can go ahead and visit anybody you want. But then on the other side, they say they don't know if it's longer than 3 months. There's just so many unknowns to such a new vaccine that I am still 100% against it.
Oh, there's just so much conflicting information too. I mean, and I kind of saw this kind of a halfway point between what you were saying and what Andrea was saying, where it was like we have scared the public so heavily with this virus. And maybe rightfully so for some groups that are maybe more at risk. But if we have to give them a permission slip so that they know it's okay to go hug a loved one, what does that say about what we've ingrained in these people?
And I don't know. I totally see what you're saying. Like, yeah, like all of a sudden we can't even live a normal life. And I was seeing it as like, go on and live your life. You know,
yeah.
There's enough already.
It's like you've paid the price.
Go live your life.
Go do it.
Yeah. So I guess we don't know exactly what his intentions were, but or what the reaction was. But I think we're all hurting for how much has been lost, and we're all ready to just get back with it. And we don't have that tolerance for anybody saying, "Oh no, not yet." You know.
Right. And I think back to what Kristin or Senator Roers had said about the healthcare workers.
Yes.
You know, they are kind of often left behind in the sense where we're worried about our loved ones, we're worried about not visiting, we're worried about our elderlies and our relatives and everyone, but who's taking care of those employees and the long-term care, like the nurses and the, you know, the facilities. Like there's so many people. I mean, even the receptionists out front, they know you by name. They know your loved ones by name. They're all hurting.
That's a good point. That's a good point, you know, because if you've had a loved one in an assisted care situation or nursing home, you make friends. This becomes like part of your world, and you meet people, and we've even kept in touch with people after our loved ones have died, and they've lost all of that.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, it's just there's just so many unknowns right now, and I know we say that all the time, there's so many unknowns, but we still have a lot of unknowns. But what we do know is we're going to come back with the lighter side after these messages on Ladies of Another View on Beck.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
Deciding how to promote your business can be hard. Visit the professionals at Dakota Promotions and Printing and let them help you through your struggle. Dakota Promotions provides promotional items and apparel, from corporate gifts to team shirts and everything in between. With quick turnaround times and friendly service, they are your best choice. And best yet, you're shopping local. Visit them online at dakotapromo.com or stop in their showroom at 320 West Main in Mandan. Dakota Promotions, delivering promotions just for you.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Coulter Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. These days, first of all, the day has gone fast. The show has gone fast. This month has gone fast. And I know it's your birthday. You got celebration.
Life is going fast, right?
Yeah, it's going fast. But this is where we jump right into our lighter side. So let's jump right into this video.
Nobody wanted to be his friend. We tried to pair him up with some of the other animals.
They're like, he is weird looking.
And they would all run from him. He would just literally stand in the middle of the field and scream.
Oh. I'm so mean. I'm out here by myself.
And I felt so bad. So it was really depressing at first. Obviously, he was lonely. And that's kind of how Benjamin came about.
Hi, buddy. They were just headed back to the rescue.
He was 2 weeks younger than Camelot. Ben was very shy. When we introduced them,
What do you think, cute face?
at first they kind of looked startled, like, what are you?
Well, I don't know about Camelot yet. Go say hi, Camelot.
And then we put them in the barn for the night. They just kind of bonded through that gate. And then they started going out together during the day. And it was just instantly like two children at play.
And they're off.
They were just having a blast.
Go get him.
They just start getting the zoomies, and Camel sometimes pulling Ben's tail. It's like tag you're it. It's just hilarious to watch.
So weird. Ben's like, play with me.
Obviously, it was an instant connection. Camelot stopped like standing there in the field crying.
Say, catch me if you can.
Camelot definitely helped Ben come out of his shell.
Careful, bud. Come on, Ben.
He had never even been outside, so just seeing him run around outside for the first time with Cam was really cool.
Go, Benjamin, go. Okay, Camelot.
Him and Ben are just inseparable. If we took Camelot in from the field first before Ben would moo, Camelot would scream.
Is that your pillow?
Camelot likes to not share.
You're so weird. Benjamin, get off your brother. He says, you tell him. What are you doing?
He'll legit throw a temper tantrum.
What is he doing?
Camelot likes to hoard straw bales, and he doesn't let Benjamin Button anywhere near them.
Benny wants to play with it too. Go, Benjamin, go! Go, Camelot, go!
Who would have thought a camel and a cow would have bonded like that? It's just one of my crazy ideas that worked out, thankfully.
I just thought it was so adorable.
Oh, I loved it.
And it just reminded me, and it was such a perfect ending to our show today, because it shows how, people don't believe people, that, hey, our elderly people need to be around people. Well, if you don't believe us, take a look at the animals. Even the animals, they don't like to be in isolation
right.
either. The poor little camel, he was depressed until he got a little buddy.
Yeah. Well, I think kids are just like that too. It didn't matter what shape or size or color or what he sounded like. They still fell in love with one another, and they're good friends. I think it's great.
I have a question. How do you get a camel and a calf in an animal rescue situation?
Well, I don't think it was in North Dakota.
Very cute, though. I loved it.
I'm guessing Andrea has rescues down in her neck of the woods that we don't have up here in North Dakota.
There's a leopard rescue and a tiger rescue. It baffles my mind.
What was that tiger
About
man?
alligators.
What was that tiger man? What was his?
Tiger King.
Tiger King.
Oh,
Was
yes.
that in your
It
neck
was a
of the
big
woods?
COVID reality
I
show.
have
Man,
no
was
idea.
that weird.
I thought that was Oklahoma.
I'm probably the
that's
only one in the
Florida.
nation that has never seen any of that.
Oh,
That was the beginning of
I
COVID.
watched some of the episodes.
Yeah, I just thought it was so unique. I mean, it just showed the how animals need interaction. Well, people are the same way. I mean, people even more so, in my opinion, that they need interaction. And so those that have been isolated, we really need to reach out to them and make sure that they are okay, just like Senator Roers had recommended.
You know, it's not just the long-term care places. I mean, there are orphanages where the kids have been isolated as well. So it's not just one age group.
And we might have neighbors in our neighborhood, you know.
Yes. Right. Okay,
that
so
to look in on people. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, this is time for our final thoughts. What do you have for us, Andrea?
I just loved your super cute animals. So I actually have a cat that was feeling kind of lonely. We got her a little friend this winter too. So it definitely is applicable. It's super cute.
Oh, that's
awesome. They chase each other around just like that camel and calf. Super adorable.
So you'll need to have some video of the return trip up to North Dakota when you come back at the end of the month. We're expecting video of how these animals are in the car.
All right.
Oh, my animal encounter today was that my grandkids all sent me videos singing happy birthday to me, and they had a kind of an encore cat go through the video. he was just loving on his mama, but it was fun to see.
When we were in Florida, we were sitting outside with the grandkids, and all of a sudden this big iguana, it had to be like 4 feet long. Well, we used to have a small one, and I found a home for it because they keep getting bigger and bigger. And I thought, you know, I don't know if they're native to Florida, or did somebody just, in Florida you can put your pets outside and then they fend for themselves. Alligators,
not a good
crocodiles.
idea. Do not do this.
It could have been somebody's pet, yeah, but he was pretty big.
Could have been. There's a lot of invasive pet species in Florida because of the people doing that.
Sure.
But yeah, there's a report line.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. We appreciate it. Tomorrow we're going to have some other great guests, but thanks for joining us today, and happy birthday to Jan. And see you next time on Ladies of Another View on Beck.